dolor de cabeza. Good evening. I would like to call to order the Keizer City Council in regular session. It is Monday, July 17th, 2023, and ask our city recorder to please call roll.
Councilor Reed.
Councilor Reed is excused tonight.
Councilor Hessman.
Here.
Councilor Kohler.
Here.
Mayor Clark.
Here.
Council President Starr.
Here.
Councilor Duran.
Here.
Councilor Cross.
Here. All right, thank you very much. If you are able, I ask you all to rise and all join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all for joining us on this beautiful summer evening. Tonight we will be beginning with our committee reports. And we have Rick Keene here from Traffic Safety Bike Ped.
Madam Mayor, members of the council, I'm Rick Keene, representing the Traffic Safety Committee. Just a very, very short report. We've reworked our purpose statement. It's been submitted for legal review and then on to you for adoption.
No mics? We stand by. For some reason, the microphone is not broadcasting. Testing?
Because I didn't turn it on.
Oh, there we go. All right.
Okay. We've been spending a fair amount of time re-looking at the neighborhood traffic management program. Tammy Salvador has been really heading up that effort. It's still underway. There's been a lot of discussion. I think maybe one of the main topics, it's always required anybody submitting an issue to get a fairly large number of signatures from affected neighbors. And that's been kind of a bone of contention. So there's been some discussion around that. We're not ready to submit it yet, but you'll probably see it sometime before too long. Lately, most of the issues that we've been hearing about seems to have been on Verda Lane. There have been other times where we've addressed issues on Shoreline and Cummings and Alder. But right now, the most current ones have been all the way from the Parkway up to the roundabout on Verda. There have been concerns about the speed on that roadway, the lack of sidewalks on a lot of it. And what the impacts from the new apartments are going to be. There have been a lot of concern about that. We know there's a project in the works from Dearborn South to the Parkway. So, at some point that'll come along. And there's always been efforts to get whatever funding we can for sidewalks, like from Safe Routes to School and those kind of programs. So that's, you'll probably hear more about Verda as time goes on. So I think that's all I have. Like I said, it'd be a short report unless there's any questions from anybody.
Thank you. I'm going to look to the city manager because Mr. Lawyer's not here. I think you directed the Public Works to look at that section of Verda between Dearborn and Chemawa. Is that correct?
Madam Mayor and Council, yes, I did. And he's turned that over to engineers to have a look at it.
Okay.
Look at alternatives.
So the concerns have been heard and the next steps are underway. There's also some grants that we could apply for that particular section, which would be separate from the other project that you referenced and that you're very well aware of from Dearborn down to Ascot for the full improvements. And we're, thanks to our area partners, through the Salem-Keizer Area Transportation Study, we were awarded approximately $725,000, I think it's a little bit more than that, toward the preliminary engineering and right-of-way phase, so we can keep that project moving forward, because you're right, that is a significant need for our community, and that's going to be moving forward.
And I'll report back to the committee that staff's going to be looking at the section from Dearborn North too.
Okay, thank you. Councilor Hausman?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Rick, I'll try to get you something else to bring back to the committee. Mr. Brown, do you mind just telling us where we're at with regard to the engineering study for the crosswalk near McNary High School, the the lighted beacon? Have you had an update on that?
Madam Mayor and Councilor Hessman, I have had an update on that. Mr. Lawyer's talked to me about that. I think there's going to be no surprises about it. If is a sidewalk or a crosswalk warranted the flashing beacon, yeah, it's definitely warranted. They're running about 70 grand for a flashing beacon crosswalk. So I think that's what's going to come out of it, and we'll have a decision to make whether you want to do it.
Okay. So there we go, one more item. And thank you again for shouting out Tammy. I'd like to acknowledge her from the dais as well. She's done really good work with that neighborhood program. So thank you, Rick, for calling her out as well.
All right. Any other questions? All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah. There's a long one. All right. Is anybody else here for a committee report before we go to public comment? Okay. And we'll hear about other committee work during our council updates. So we will now go to public comment. This time is provided for citizens to address the council on any matters other than those on the agenda schedule for public hearing. We have one public hearing scheduled for this evening, and that is a resolution exemption of subscription for specialized software services for legal department from competitive bidding and awarding contract to Carrot. So if you're here for that, stand by. And I have several people signed up for public comment. Before we go to that, I do want to acknowledge for the record a letter for the Keizer Chamber of Commerce. And it's on the City of Salem payroll, employee payroll tax information. So that will be entered into the record for people's information and reference. Okay, so I am going to start with, looks like two people want to come together. Devin Kraxberger and Jose Filemon Ceja to talk about Keizer Creek and a flooding issue. If you want to come up. And if you just state your name and your city of residence so it's on the record.
I'm Devin Kraxberger, and my city of residence is Keizer.
Okay.
I'm Jose Filemon Ceja, and I live by Keizer Creek.
All right, thank you. So please.
I'll let him start because this is one of the
So
neighbors.
if you could, the microphone picks it up to broadcast on the television.
Okay.
We can hear you, but we want to make sure that people online can hear you. So if you want to get closer to the microphone.
I'll let
sir.
Jose start.
Okay.
So he's the one that started the petition and has talked to more of the neighbors than I have as far as the Keizer Creek flooding
Okay.
in our neighborhood.
All right. Sorry.
Yeah, I don't know you can understand because my English is not perfect, but it's not good enough.
You're doing
Maybe
great.
it's good enough, but
Yeah.
just a couple weeks ago, I come to the city of Keizer over here to let her know about the problem with the creek.
Right.
There's a couple dam beavers stuck in the water so bad in our neighborhood. And the water is raising so bad all the way up. And we're asking if they can remove beavers or they can do anything about with the creek because there's flooding so bad. And the algae, the mosquitoes is so bad in the area.
Okay.
And I didn't hear anything from them. It's about 4 weeks into that. Yeah,
And so while he had the petition that went around, he got like 20 people to sign, fellow neighbors to sign in our neighborhood. So I'm representing my father and mother-in-law who live at the end, right where the park is on Alder or Arnold, before you get to this the schools. And they're lower than where Jose is at as far as, so they're at the bottom. And I think you guys all received pictures, to my knowledge, of our backyard and the difference of what it's making. Well, I finally I had a good recommendation from Melissa, who told me to get a hold of Adam, because I've already been in touch with the environmental people. And then I went from there to the state lands. And then I finally got in contact with somebody that was very helpful. And she actually did legwork and called the Marion County because of the drainage law. There's a drainage law. And to see what they could do. And since it's in city limits, she just wanted to know more. So I found out that the city of Keizer actually could use that law and put it in effect And then also, she also did more legwork and contacted Carrie from here, from the head of the Department of Environmental. And because right now, the way it's flooding, so we have our rainy seasons. And I've seen it flood like pretty bad. And if it hasn't rained for like a few hours, that water recedes in the backyard. And like, there's no standing puddles afterwards. There's no, like, you can walk in the backyard. Besides being in wet grass, there's nothing. But we haven't had rain in like 3 months. And it's getting worse and it's eroding away my parents' backyard. Like, to the back, you can't even be in the backyard because it's all like swampy. And so it's getting like really, really bad and up to almost to the property, like the retaining wall and stuff. And so we were just wondering if we could, we're just trying to get it out there and make sure, see if we could get any more help with it as far as what can be done. Oh, the lady from the state also contacted ODFW
Right.
and got in contact with a guy named Greg, who said he'd be more than willing to come out with a City of Keizer employee to check out to see what the thing is or what's going on with it. And to my knowledge, it's built on, okay, so there was a beaver dam built and then a guy reinforced it with cement, but that's been there for like 15 years or something. So that's not the problem, but then the beavers built a dam on top of it, to my knowledge. And so, like, it's a private property in the backyard, but, so his thing's permitted, I'm like, that's fine, it's not his dam's not the problem, but we need to do something about this, but he can't take the dam out, the Oregon Fish and Wildlife, but he said he'd be willing to help the city of Keizer to come up with a solution for it, for what's going on, because it's really, really bad. We've been dealing with it for like over a month.
Okay. So I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Brown, who did alert us to this afternoon. So we become aware of the issue you're facing and our environmental division. And he and our staff members will be taking the lead on finding and getting to those solutions. So Mr. Brown, if you want to respond, please. And thank you for the work that's starting on this.
Sure, Madam Mayor and Council, and we became aware of this today with Devin contacted me, I appreciate that. And I've talked with our environmental group. They've been talking with ODFW and they actually have been talking with Greg for a while, quite a bit of correspondence back and forth between him. So there's some remedies out there, and but it depends on who's making the remedy, whether it's a state agency or a local or resident. And local residents have powers that we don't have, actually. So there's more education to be done before we can get a solution to it, but we'll work towards it.
And then, but this will be forthcoming. It sounds like it's a top priority for the staff to be working with all of the neighbors on this. Yes,
Can I
ma'am.
respond real quick? I know you just got thrown in this loop like today, and it's not on you, but I have talked to Carrie and I've talked to different people, and then I did the footwork, and then the lady I talked to from the state of lands, because it comes down, they told me it was a city, told me it was a state of lands issue, and then she did all this other footwork for us. So, and Greg said that he was not informed that there was a problem this year. He knew that there was a problem last year of it, but that problem didn't even touch the problem that we're having this year. So I don't know about the correspondence back and forth, because Greg acted like he wasn't aware. That's what he told the lady from the State of Lands Department that I talked to. And so now it becomes a solution like for the city, because she already talked to Marion County. She's from the State of Lands, and so I just wanted to be aware of that.
Yeah, we'll get it figured out.
Okay, good. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. And Mr. Brown, you will report back to us early August on the progress. All right, that would be great. Thank you so much. And thank you to all of you for taking action and making sure that we're aware so we can make sure that things get done. And Mr. Brown has fantastic follow through. All right. Thank you very much. Okay. Going to change of pace here. We're going to hear from Ed Davis and Chuck Ito. talking about a fantastic program that is coming to Keizer, and that some of the particulars will be on our agenda for August 7th, but you have a chance to hear about it tonight. And keep your calendars clear that third week of August. Welcome, gentlemen, and if you would just introduce yourself, your name, city of residence, and then tell us about this great program with the students from the city of Iho.
Yes.
Io.
Thank you. My name is Ed Davis. I'm a resident of Salem since 1954. And Chuck Ito is with me, and he's a resident of Keizer.
Yes, my name is Katsumi Ito, also known as Chuck, and I've been living in Keizer since 1970 to now.
Thank you. We appreciate it. Council President Shaney, it's nice to see you since our auxiliary days. Goes back a ways. Starting in 2009, we were visited by a group from the city of Iyo in Japan, which is a suburb of the capital city of Matsuyama in the Ehime prefecture on the southern island of Shikoku. Can't even say that without choking. And they were interested in bringing middle school students from their schools for a broader international experience to give them a better idea of what other cultures are like and so forth. So starting in 2010, we began hosting 16 middle school students and did so every year from 2010 through 2019 until we were interrupted by the COVID experience that we all shared. This year, things have opened up a little, and the city of Iyo is once again going to send 14 middle school students this year. Budget considerations have caused them to cut back a little bit on the program. But what we do with these kids, they come in, we've arranged a teacher to teach them each morning from, they will arrive on Saturday the 19th, and they will be kept in pairs in host families. So we have actually 8 host families lined up and some more who expressed interest, so we've got some backups. It's a great experience. The host families will keep them over the weekend, drop them off, hopefully here at the Keizer City Hall in one of the meeting rooms where we will hold classes Monday through Thursday from 8:30 until 11:30 and let them practice some English and learn a little bit about American culture, maybe do some scavenger hunts. Then in the afternoons, we will take them on various excursions around the area to again see what our communities are like. We've talked about the cultural center next door, where I enjoyed a great play yesterday. My granddaughter's in it. So if you have a chance to see it, please do. We've talked about going out to Keizer Rapids Park. We're working with the Boys and Girls Club to use their bicycles and set them on a bike trip one day. We've taken them to Willamette University in the past. We've taken them to Mission Mill. We've taken them into the council chamber, or the Senate and House chambers in the Capitol, but I don't know that we're going to be able to get in there this year. But hopefully Representative Mannix will at least greet them and give them a little update on what American culture is like. Then we turn them over in the evening to their host parents again and go through the same thing Monday through Thursday. Friday, we give them a break because we have class out at the Salem Keizer Career Technical Education Center. So we have morning class at CTEC, then we walk them over to the Kroc Center and turn them loose for a day of fun, climbing the walls and swimming and whatever they want to do. Then they have another day with their host families and get back on the buses to the airport on Sunday morning. It's been a great experience. What we've asked of the city, you've got in the letter, is to allow us use of the city's facilities, to host a meeting with Mayor Takechi and his wife from Iyo, who will be here on the 19th, and we're hoping to arrange a meeting on Monday, the day of your council meeting on the 19th, and hopefully bring the kids in and let them see what the council chambers look like and sit in the chairs and play mayor and what have you. That's been a great experience. We've done it with the city of Salem, but this year, Mayor Hoy and his staff have chosen to try to focus on strengthening the sister city relationship that they have with Kawagoe in Japan and kind of put that more on the high end. So we thought this little town is about the same population as Keizer. It's agricultural oriented. It's right on the inland sea, and it's a suburb of the capital of Matsuyama. So they have a lot of things in common with the city of Keizer. And we even suggested that it might be interesting for the mayors to discuss the possibility of a sister city relationship if Keizer has any interest in that. But that's for you folks to discuss. Happy to answer any questions, but that's what we're hoping to do.
Thank you so much, and thank you for bringing this to the city of Keizer for this opportunity. Many of us have hosted students from other nations before and have found that to be a very rewarding experience, and are really happy to offer that opportunity for our community to build a relationship with EO. We've recently learned that there may be an additional opportunity for the students to learn about U.S. government because Congresswoman Salinas would like to do a town hall here the week that they are here.
Wonderful.
And we'll be talking about that opportunity as well. So the Thursday evening. So they're going to have a tremendous opportunity to learn about and meet people who are engaged in government, both locally as well as federally.
Our visitors will be hosting a formal reception at the convention center on that Wednesday, and you will all be invited if you would like to come. The kids will usually put on a program and show us some of the song and dance and things that they have learned while they're here and what they brought with them. So,
One thing to see is that the English teacher is going to be Steve Timpson. You know, he's a PhD and taught many years at the TIUA in Kawagoe, and retired and back with us now. And his wife is a fantastic koto player, and she says she's willing to perform koto as a part of the evening entertainment this year.
That is fantastic.
So, if not, I will just make one more comment, and that's, I'll share with what I shared with Mayor Clark when we met earlier. Several years ago, when the city of Keizer chose to incorporate rather than be annexed with the city of Salem, I couldn't understand why we needed multiple jurisdictions. After watching how Keizer has developed and watching how this council works, I understand. I flip completely on the other side. So,
After 40 years, I'm
Yeah.
glad we were able to make our case.
Yes.
Questions? It's a very exciting opportunity. So with
Great.
concurrence of council, this will come to us on August 7th for any formalities regarding the use of the community center, waiving fees and so forth. That is in the jurisdiction of the council to grant that. And everybody, please get this on your calendar for being able to be here for as much of that week as possible. And I would point out that that reception is the same night as Councilor Husband's birthday.
Oh, well, we'll have a cake.
So there we go.
I would be honored, Ed. Thank you.
Great, okay. And we'll, in the meantime, work with Adam Brown to help coordinate some of the different activities out in this neck of the woods.
Fantastic. Well, thanks again, and we're very excited to welcome the students, the mayor and his wife, and the instructors for this wonderful opportunity. Thank you for bringing it to Keizer.
Thank you very much.
Okay, and then I've got two other people that want to speak, but they are for specific items. So Audrey Butler and Lori Christopher, if you want to hang on just a minute, we'll have you speak to those issues as they come up. All right, fabulous. Is there anybody else for public comment before we go to the public hearing? Okay, then let's go ahead to our public hearing. Open the public hearing for item 7A, resolution exemption of subscription for specialized software services for legal department from competitive bidding and awarding contract to Carrot. Mr. Johnson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and Council. This matter is before Council for a public hearing on the bidding rules exemption. The software that our office used, we've had since 2009. It provides a calendaring, filing, email, timekeeping coordinated system in which we have our notes and coordinated emails. There's really one of those situations where this proprietary software, it would be extremely difficult to try to change that, to be able to convert it to a different model. So the matter is before you for an exemption from the bidding process. The recommendation is to open the hearing, take testimony, and if you have no questions, close the hearing and adopt the attached resolution. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions on the resolution or the resolution? Yeah, on the resolution or the staff report? Council President Starr.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just have one question in regards to it being a 3-year term. Is that correct?
Yes.
So a 3-year term, do we know, is this the standard software that most people who would be a city attorney use? And you probably know where I'm going with this.
Might have something to do with my retirement schedule?
Maybe.
That really kind of what you're getting at, maybe? So we considered that question real carefully because of the obvious reasons. It's like, hey, whoever comes in behind me kind of does what they want to do. They might not like it.
Yep.
The savings between a 3-year and a 1-year contract were substantial,
Okay.
unfortunately. And so, and my assistant, Tammy Harms, actually ruses this probably in a way more than I do. I mean, she uses a different part of it than I do. And she's still going to be here. So it is possible that the new city attorney will want to look at something different if they don't want to wait another 2 years or 2.5 years. Then they would have to look to see getting out of the contract if it's that serious for them. My thought would be that they'd probably just use it till it's up. But that, believe me, we thought real seriously about just doing a 1-year contract. And I don't remember what the dollar amounts were, but they were substantial. They really wanted a 3-year contract, and I felt it was maybe unlikely that the new city attorney would want to quickly change to anything. So that was the reason we did that.
Good. Councilor Cross?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. What is substantial when you say that dollar amount? Like,
I'm sorry, I wasn't prepared to get it. I really don't know what the amount was, but I remember that we talked real seriously in-house and with other staff members, should we do a 1-year or 3-year? Here's what the difference is. Part of the decision had to do with the fact that I frankly think it's going to be pretty unlikely the new city attorneys they're going to need a program, okay?
Mm-hmm.
It's very difficult to do the work we do without some sort of software base. Since my assistant is using it, we've used it for 12, 13 years or more. I think the likelihood of the new city attorney wanting to change that system is kind of small. This is one of the major players in the business, so.
did we ask if we could do like a 90 or 120 day extension until we changed?
The least they would do is a year.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Wood, do you have that information, or can you get that to us at,
I don't have that information in front of me, but yes, I could get it to you at a later date.
okay, thank you. Thank you, Councilor Cross. Any other questions?
So I do.
Council President Starr.
Thank you, Mayor Clark. When is the actual expiration? So if we wanted to wait for information coming from Mr. Wood? I don't know if I'm just overlooking it.
It may not be in, it's sort of a bare quote, so,
That is, delivery date says 6/28 and expiration is 8/18, but that's the quote date, so.
that's when the quote would expire, yeah. That
Right.
doesn't have anything to do with the length of time. Well, if it's a concern of council, you, 36 months.
I mean, I'm just curious what like the lead time for the expiration of the current contract was, and like, I mean, I just feel like we're
Yeah.
kind of,
I think it's pretty close to being up. But again, I don't remember exactly what that time frame is. If, my suggestion is if it's a current concern of council to the degree that you would want to insist on a 1-year contract or less because you feel that this is an issue for the future city attorney, then you could certainly pass this resolution. Council, we will wait on it. if we can, and it's not going to expire between now and the next meeting. If it doesn't expire between now and the next meeting, we won't go forward with the contract until the next meeting. And at that time, you can reconsider. We won't have it entered into the contract.
Okay.
That would require a separate motion after you pass the resolution to, or not motion, but consensus that you want to direct us to hold it up if it's not going to expire.
Okay. Any other questions before I call for public comment? Seeing none, is there anyone here who has come to address the council on this matter? I don't have anybody signed up that I know of. Seeing none, are there any other questions before we close the public hearing and go to deliberation? Going once. Councilor Cross?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Sorry, I know that you said that they're one of the other players. Did we get any quotes from the other big players or the big three?
No, that's why we're doing an exemption. Trying to switch the software would be a major endeavor.
Yeah, I know. Like you get a new phone,
And-
it's a lot.
and since this has been working well for us for 12 years, the idea of switching didn't make a lot of sense to us.
Thank you.
Okay. Councilor Kohler?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Councilor Johnson, does that include upgrades for the system during that 3 years?
Oh, yeah, it's all built in, right?
Thank you.
Further questions before I close public hearing? Public hearing is now closed. Council President Starr, put a motion on the table.
I move the City Council adopt Resolution R2023, exemption of subscription for specialized software services for legal department from competitive bidding and awarding contract to Carrot.
I second.
It's been moved and seconded that the Keizer City Council adopt Resolution R 2023, exemption of subscription for specialized software services for legal department from competitive bidding and awarding contract to Carrot. Discussion. So I've got one comment, and I think is to, and this is why I'm going to be supporting this, as is because Ms. Harms will be continuing past the retirement of Mr. Johnson, and the continuity is going to be critical for our record keeping and for her ability to more easily transition from one city attorney to the next. So that's why I would support for the full 3 years. If we find that there's a serious glitch after 12 years of service, then, or a real need for a change, I would expect the legal staff to bring that to Mr. Wood for consideration. So that's why I will be supporting this as is. Councilor Husband?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'll be supporting this too, and while it wasn't necessarily directly broached in the Q&A session, I get the sense that archiving or transmitting the information that is currently stored within Carrot systems would be substantial and therefore substantially expensive. I think that's absolutely the type of cost that we're looking to mitigate at this time. So anything we can do to save the city staff a little bit of archival time to do other things, I'm in favor of.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Councilor Cross?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I will be supporting this too. I would just say for the record, would be nice to know what those dollar amounts are. When, what does substantial, what is that? So.
And if I may, just point out for people who are watching who, if they are interested in looking at this item, it's on page 4 of the online packet, and the financial impact of this request is $376 per month for 3 years. So that's the total for the monthly cost for this. So substantial, again, will be in the eye of the beholder. It will save money, it sounds like, but I think our biggest expense is personnel. But that gives you a sense of what this software costs. So just want to point that out for folks who are watching as well. But that's a good question. All right, anything else? All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, signify by saying no. Hearing no objection, motion passes unanimously with Councilor Reed absent. Are we good to go? Okay. Let's go on to administrative action, item 7A, which is the Community Center Foundation, Keizer Closets, American Rescue Plan Act, ARPA grant request. We'll go to Mr. Wood for the staff update, and then we'll bring up Ms. Butler, and then Ms. Christopher, are you coming up with Ms. Butler to talk about this one? Yes, I am. Okay, so we'll bring you up after Mr. Wood does his staff report. Mr. Wood.
Madam Mayor, City Council, the Keizer Community Foundation is requesting $14,700 in ARPA funds to support the Keizer Closets program for fiscal year 23-24. The Keizer Closets program partners with schools in Keizer to provide food, hygiene products, and clothing for students in need. They did make a request last year, and we did fund that through ARPA funds as well. If you do choose to move forward with the grant request, my recommendation would be that we take that $14,700 in ARPA funds out of the strategic planning initiatives line item. Currently, that line item has $650,000 allocated to it, and that is for initiatives that you folks will ultimately decide upon when the strategic planning process is complete. I don't want to take a whole lot of time because I think we have people who can speak to the program a whole heck of a lot better than I can. So with that, if you have any additional questions, I'll be free to address them, or you can bring up our special guests.
All right, thank you very much. Any questions on the staff report? All right, Ms. Butler, Ms. Christopher, come on down. And for those who are watching, and for folks' reference, page 14 of the council packet has the report from the Keizer Community Foundation. Welcome.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for having us here tonight. My name is Audrey Butler. I'm the president of the Keizer Community Foundation.
And what's your city of residence?
And my who?
Your city of residence.
Oh, Keizer.
Right.
Lori Christopher, and my city of residence is Keizer.
Got a frog in my throat. No, I'm not. Thank you for having us. And first off, I want to say thank you for the funds that were awarded to the Keizer Community Foundation last year. If you had a chance to go through the paperwork I submitted, over 8,000 children, we call it touched, the Keizer Community Closet in one way or another through the year. 5,000 of those happened from January to May. We're in 10 schools in Keizer, and I could go on and on. I just want to make sure that everybody knows what the closets are. If there's any questions, I'm happy to answer, but I think it was 2018 in the first school at McNary. I was there to drop off some clothing one day for for the counselor. I'd had a conversation with her, and just then a young boy came in, and it happened to be his birthday, and he was coming in for a snack. And it was then that I noticed on her shelf, the counselor's shelf, that she had all this food in there. And then I brought in some jackets, and she said, "I want you to take 2." And he was so excited. It was his birthday. And I asked afterwards, I said, "What's going on here? What is all this food and clothing for in your office?" And she said, "You have no idea. We have children that are trash diving at McNary to have food to go home on weekends." It was then we decided that we needed to do something as a mom to a mom. And at that time, I was involved with the Keizer Chamber of Commerce, and I involved the women in our No group. From that, we branched off, and the Keizer Community Foundation has taken this on as our project. And we've gone from 4 schools to 6 schools, and now we're in all 10 schools in Keizer. And children who are in need of food, clothing items, hygiene products can come into a counselor's office and request the items, and they'll be readily available. If there is something the children don't need, like a size 14 shoe, or maybe there's a fire in one of their homes, we can help with that, and we are taking special requests as well. So I'm proud of the program. I'm proud of what the foundation has done, and together I believe we've made a difference for at least 8,000 children throughout the year. I think because of that, their food, they're cleaned, and they're able to concentrate. I think they're readily accepted by their peers a little bit better, and we're going to produce better kids in Keizer. So I'm ready for any questions. I would appreciate any help that we can get, not only from the council, but from community members as well.
I'd like to point out also that as the shutdown began, rather than keep things in the closets and be ready for the reopening, everything was given. So that the students, their families would have their needs met even though they weren't in the building. And I want to applaud again that decision to release what you had to do good. And then last year, when actually we funded for the remainder of the school year that reopened all of last year, and it is such a joy to read the impact that these Keizer closets are having for our students and their families. It is so incredibly rewarding. Questions on the Keizer Closet program? I also want to point out that the United Way helped the Salem schools replicate this, and they call them the resource rooms, and the Salem schools, I think most if not all, now have resource closets, but they began here.
Yeah, we've done some little talking with them, yeah.
Council President Starr.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So my question as a nonprofit person, sustainability go forward. So you requested the same amount or received the same amount last year in ARPA funds. You're requesting the same amount this year in ARPA funds. What are you going to do when the ARPA funds go away?
Well, if you'll notice on our budget, I had already applied for and received 2 grants that were going to take us through the year, I hoped. We have donors in line that we always request money from. And so every year, I always want to have at least $5,000 in there to take care of us for 6 months. I just keep working for donations. And we've been very fortunate in that our donors are continuing to give. And yeah.
So I would just say, and you know this to be true, once you have a successful program, and particularly a program that helps kids, once you can prove sustainability, which we've done since 2018, so now we have people who are willing to stand with us and continue to contribute. Now, not gonna lie, ARPA funds were great because that put together an entire 12 months. And that includes, there's a lot of kids that go to special classes and do some summer stuff. And they're in contact with their counselors as well. So that $14,700, which is what we estimated we would need for 11 schools for a 12-month period. We ended up only having 10 schools, and we have $2,000 left. We have $7,000. We don't like to go underneath the 5,000, and that's for an emergency need. And that happens with homeless kids. You know, the good news is, I wanted to mention, there was 1,100, almost 1,200 homeless kids in the Salem Keizer School District. That's down to 900. So, I mean, that's a little good news, I thought. Those kids are able to access these closets by just talking with their counselor. No one knows what those kids are doing. It's all between them and their counselor. And so once we talk about the program, I mean, which one of you would not personally write a check for this program if we came to you and said, we need some funding for these kids? Which one of you wouldn't write a check? That's how we'll continue it. Because I think people understand the need is there and it continues to be there. And so with writing grants, Oregon Community Foundation, they have helped us in the past, but also individual businesses have helped us.
Follow up?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So my follow-up to that is kind of what you just pointed out. When I look at the kind of the profit and loss, if you will, sheet that you included in the report, the way that the figures work with what you brought in and the grants and then the expenses, there are no miscellaneous, like individual donor line items. So are the donors that you're talking about waiting to see if the city does or doesn't fund it? Or are you cultivating that donor base? Because I'm not seeing that giving on this sheet. So to me, if I were looking at this, I'm like, they don't have an individual stream of donor giving.
The donor list that we do have is something we address towards the end of the year. And then I have not put forth any effort right now for seeking more funds because we have all we need if we get this grant. Otherwise, yes, I'm out there looking. I'm out there making phone calls, writing letters, but we don't seem to do that until July, August comes around. That's usually when we do it.
Getting ready for the school year.
Yeah.
So I'm just,
We do have a list of donors. We have a cultivation of donors in our files, people that we could ask.
so a grant, so like your grant stream of funding typically has a 9 to 12 month lead time before you secure additional grant funding coming in. So I'm just thinking ahead, have those grants already been submitted? Because like the calendar tells us you're going to need that money this time next year.
So that's the 5,002, the 7,000 we had before we received last year's grant was what we had in our, in our budget.
It's the October timeline. You're familiar with that. It's March and October. So we would fill out for the October grants that would be paid in '24. And those usually distribute, I want to say July or August, somewhere there. But there's two real funding streams, which is March and October.
Real quick question, if I may. And so will this help with any match or other qualifications for making those asks?
Well, we can use it as match, sure.
Right.
You know, and I mean, it really says something when you've got the city of residents for these 10 schools, and when the city is willing to give up, I mean, those resources are finite. They're not going to continue on. But it really says something about the city that's willing to provide those ARPA funds to those schools for the 2 years that they can. I'm not saying we may not come back. I mean, you have to spend that money by
December of '24? No, 26.
Six.
Has to be obligated by the end of '24, but has to be spent by the end of '26.
So I'm not saying you might not see us next year. I mean, we're going to continue to fundraise and take care of these kids and do everything we can. But we may come back to you and ask for some additional help.
I'm going to go Counselor Duran, then I've got another follow-up.
So what I'm hearing is you haven't reached out to individual donors as much because you've been getting the larger donations from the three that you've listed. Us, the Oregon Community Foundation, and Salem Association of Realtors. So I remember when this started, I was there with Audrey helping, and I could not believe what was being done back then in 2018. So I can see that from back then, I was definitely on board, and I can see that you'll be able to get that if things, dry up from the larger donors. But, and that's why I haven't heard from you in a couple of years, because the money's coming from other places. The smaller donors haven't been reached out to, I'm guessing. But I do want to say that I saw this in the beginning and saw how much it touched the lives of the students, and it's a great program, and I'm really happy that the city can be involved in this.
Thank you. So I've got one more follow-up question, and that is, if we do allocate these funds, I think in reporting out, it would be helpful to know how they were leveraged for additional match or additional funds you used as match. And also, we have the number of students served. It'd be nice to know, as we've heard in so many other services right now, there's been an increase in need. We've heard from the food banks that there's been a substantial, I think it's 30 to 50%, depending on which branch of the food bank you're talking about. So the level of need within our schools, because I don't know what normal is anymore, does anybody? But also to track what your overall costs are going to continue to be for meeting the current need, and is it continuing to increase? Is it still on the steep, or is it leveling off as our economy settles down for our students and our families? So I think that would really help us, and you probably need that for your grants anyway, to look at the level of need within the community. So I think that would be really helpful information to also receive. And because we're hearing the same thing from other nonprofits about what they need and the level of service. And then we can gauge if, to what level, if there's still expanded need for another year, that will be really helpful for us to know if we need to go into 24, 25, or if things are leveling off. So that would be helpful to know. Any other questions or comments? Yes.
We're happy to provide that information to you, Madam Mayor, as we get it. We have to rely on the schools, and that's why we are so late in coming back to you, is because they have to finish the school year, and then Audrey has wonderful relationships with them, and they provide us with that information. So you hit on one of the critical factors. Inflation has been a killer. I mean, we're buying food and hygiene items and shoes and coats. We don't buy, unless it's a situation of such as a house fire or a disaster, we don't furnish clothing. There are other organizations that do that. But the cost of that is up probably at least 10%. I would say.
Inflation.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So that's part of it, but plus the need has been surprisingly increased since they're not in school.
Fantastic. All right. Any other questions before I let them go? Oh, and if people want to know more, how do they get a hold of you?
How do they get in touch with you?
Yeah. We have a website, the Keizer Community Foundation, and we're also on Facebook, and they can just message me. It would come to me directly.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I have a question
Oh.
on the staff report.
On the staff report. Okay, you're good. And
We're good.
we'll go to the staff report. Council President Starr?
Thank you. Mr. Wood, in the background, you see that the city appropriated the ARPA funds in fiscal year 21-22. Am I missing a year? Because so we're in fiscal year 23-24. So what happened to 22-23?
I think you may have caught an error. I think that is probably 22, 23.
Okay, thank you.
That's when we got it and we spent it.
Okay. So we did part in, I think it was spring of 22, and then this is 23, 22, 23, there was the 14.7, and now we're looking at our 23, 24 budget. Okay.
That is correct, yes.
All right. Any other questions? Council President Starr, do you want to put a motion on the table for us, please?
I move that the city council designate $14,700 of the strategic planning initiatives line item in the ARPA funds fiscal year 23-24 adopted budget as support for the Keizer Community Foundation's Keizer Closets program.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that the Keizer City Council adopt resolution that we designate, I went into my script, $14,700 of the Strategic Planning Initiatives line item in the ARPA funds fiscal year 2023-24 adopted budget as support for the Keizer Community Foundation's Keizer Closets program. Discussion. So one of the things we heard was in our approval, if this goes forward, that we do want to hear about the cost, the impact, and also the plan for outreach for additional funding sources for the sustainability. So that would be helpful for us to know. Okay. Thank you very much. Anything further? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed signify by saying no. Hearing no objection, motion passes unanimously with one absent, that would be Councilor Reed. All right, thank you very much. We'll now go to item 8B, which is resolution authorizing temporary use and signs subject to conditions for Keizer Fest 2023. There goes Mr. Johnson. And I know if there's any questions, Ms. Falardo is here.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and Council. It is that time of year again. This matter comes before Council to approve temporary uses and the associated signage. We have a following resolution with regard to the street vendor, which is a separate agenda item. In any event, you can see this before you. We have the memorandum and description of all the events and the schedule from the chamber. And towards the end of this agenda item is the resolution itself, which authorizes temporary use and signs subject to conditions. We have a similar exhibit. The Exhibit A lists the design restrictions and conditions, indicating, for example, that alcohol has to remain in the tent or in the smoking area. Smoking is only allowed in the smoking area, and that the chamber needs to observe directions from city staff and Keizer Fire, that sort of thing. It has also discussion same as several years with regard to the signage and where it may be placed. So that's before you for consideration, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions on the staff report or the resolution itself? Looking for questions? All right. Council President Starr.
I move the City Council adopt Resolution R 2023 authorizing temporary use and signs subject to conditions for Keizer Fest 2023.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that the Keizer City Council adopt Resolution R 2023 authorizing temporary use and signs subject to conditions for Keizer Fest 2023. Discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed signify by saying no. Hearing no objection, motion passes unanimously. Fantastic. All right, let's go to item 8C, which is a resolution authorizing a temporary suspension of the ordinance prohibiting street vendors. Mr. Johnson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and Council. Again, similar to what we've done in years past, that we have an ordinance that prohibits street vending. It allows for suspension of that ordinance during special events at council approval. And so we have a resolution pretty much identical to what we've done in years past. You'll note the resolution allows suspension of the ordinance to allow street vending during the parade between 7 a.m. and noon. Any vendors must have necessary governmental permits or approvals, such as any food items, and you cannot interfere or block pedestrian or vehicular or parade traffic in any manner. So that's the resolution we adopt every year at this time, and it's before you for your consideration, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
All right, thank you very much. Are there any questions on the staff report or the resolution? All right, Council President Starr.
I move the City Council adopt Resolution R 2023 authorizing a temporary suspension of the ordinance prohibiting street vendors.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that the Keizer City Council adopt Resolution R 2023 authorizing a temporary suspension of the ordinance prohibiting street vendors. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed signify by saying no. Hearing no objection, motion passes unanimously with one absent, that's Councilor Reed. Fantastic. All right, we will now go to item 8D, which is the Verda and Chemawa Public Art. Mr. Johnson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm disappointed that Councilor Reed is not here since she brought up this issue. And I'm not sure why I ended up with the staff report. Somebody thought it would be appropriate for the attorney to deal with silly cows. It's my guess. But actually, someone told me that I had done the previous one, so it made sense for me somehow to do this one. My concern last week when that was brought up, it was not on the agenda. I was not certain that whether we had adopted a resolution on that before or not. And if we had, then it'd be appropriate to come back with one. I was informed once it was checked on that it was actually a minute motion. So the council is free to rename the public art. And I have a proposed motion there for you with regard to renaming it the Rosalie's Silly Cows.
All right, thank you very much. Are there any questions on the staff report? And I do have Ms. Christopher is here from the Keizer Public Arts Commission.
So thank you. Lori Christopher, City Residents, Keizer. So how cute are those cows? They are terrific. Councilor Reed came to us and said, you know, I really think we should change the name from Rosalie's Cows to Rosalie's Silly Cows, because Rosalie did call them silly cows. And the fondest memory I have of those is when I was running for mayor, I had the most beautiful signs. They were blue, Keizer blue background, and then it had my name on them. And Rosalie let me put them on that rise, and she had that yellow field behind it, and it was gorgeous. I loved to drive down Shamala and look at that, except those dang cows kept knocking the sign down. And so Rosalie would call and say, Lori, those silly cows, they've knocked down your sign again. And I mean, it was almost every other day. Ron was so ticked off. So I know for fact that Rosalie called them silly cows because she did many times with me. In addition to that, there was an article in the Keizer Times where they interviewed her, and she said, I know people want me to get rid of those silly cows, but I like them and I'm not going to get rid of them. So I checked with the KPAC folks, Keizer Public Arts Commission. We don't care if you change the name to Rosalie's Silly Cows. And the funder, Keizer Community Foundation, they don't care if you change the name to Rosalie's Silly Cows. We'll put it on the storyboard that tells the history of Rosalie and why she's a significant person in this community. And, you know, let me also say, this was so fun at Keizer's 40th anniversary. I mean, there was over 100 people there that were there for the dedication of the cows. And when I walked into the room, I thought, what are all these people doing here? They were there for the cows. And the entire Herber family, there was how many, Kath? Over 50 people that were there. It was a big deal. And we made a Keizer Pioneer family feel wonderful about the contributions that wonderful lady did. So I don't care what you call her cows, just I'm so thrilled that we did it for her. Any questions?
Any questions? Thank
Thanks
you
so
so
much.
much, and thank you for this project. All right, Council President Starr.
I move that the Keizer City Council rename the public art of Rosalie's Cows to Rosalie's Silly Cows.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that the council rename the public art of Rosalie's Cows to Rosalie's Silly Cows. Any further discussion? Dare I? Councilor Kohler.
I just love the quote, I don't care.
But we care for Rosalie. All right. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed signify by saying no. Hearing no objection, we will move along.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, no.
You're welcome. Motion passes unanimously with one absent. Councilor Reed. I know it was. Okay, everybody fill in your favorite cow joke right now. And we will go on then to item 8E, which is a resolution amending the City of Keizer Budget Committee, amending Resolution R 2013-2311. Mr. Johnson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and Council. This item came up recently when I was conversing with some colleagues about a budget statute. The budget statute I've listed in the staff report, it reads, for a budget committee, I should say, appointed members of the budget committee may not be officers, agents, or employees of the municipal corporation. I was aware of this statute, but after conversing with several colleagues, the consensus was that planning commissioners, because of their role and required in most cities and to a small degree here, they can make final decisions in planning matters, and probably by common law could be defined as officers. Consequently, it would be appropriate to amend both the Planning Commission ordinance, that is done by ordinance unlike most that are resolutions, as well as the Budget Committee resolution to confirm that members of the Budget Committee and Planning Commission cannot be on both boards at the same time, can't serve at the same time. That is what is before you tonight. We have the existing resolution and ordinance for the Budget Committee and Planning Commission for your background. And then after that, the proposed ordinance to amend the Planning Commission ordinance as well as the resolution on the Budget Committee. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions on the staff report or the resolution? I guess there's two motions here. So do we have anybody at this point who is serving on both effective right now?
The only member is cycling off in a month,
Okay.
I believe, yeah. So we don't have
And since budget is concluded, that's a moot point.
Correct.
Okay. All right, thank you very much. Anything else? Council President Starr?
Madam Mayor, just to clarify, they're two separate.
Correct. So
Okay.
they would be separate
One and-
motions.
okay, great.
Right.
I move the City Council adopt Resolution R2023, amending the City of Keizer Budget Committee, amending Resolution R2013-2311.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that the Keizer City Council adopt Resolution R 2023, amending the City of Keizer Budget Committee, amending Resolution R 2013-2311. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed signify by saying no. Hearing no objection, motion passes unanimously with one absent, that is Councilor Reed. Council President Starr.
I move the City Council adopt ordinance number ordinance number 2023, amending the ordinance creating a planning commission, amending ordinance number 2020-824 and declaring an emergency.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that the Keizer City Council adopt ordinance number 2023, amending the ordinance creating a planning commission, amending ordinance number 2020-824, declaring an emergency. Discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed signify by saying no. Hearing no objection, motion passes unanimously. Thank you very much. Let's go to item 8F, which is resolution establishing the amount of the sewer system development charge for wastewater treatment facilities, repealing resolution R 2022-3311. Mr. Wood.
Madam Mayor, City Council, the city is part of a regional wastewater treatment system. As part of our agreement with the City of Salem, we agreed to charge an SDC system development charge on new construction in the City of Keizer. Every year, the City of Salem does an updated cost of service analysis. As part of that analysis, they come up with the new system development charge. This year's charge is $375. That is an increase from $351 last year. Unfortunately, the biggest driver is the capital outlay program. Specifically, items such as the cost of concrete and steel is really driving up these type of charges. With that, if there's any additional questions, this is a pass-through. We do collect it on behalf of Salem. We collect the whole thing and then remit it to them, typically on a monthly basis. These are relatively infrequent, as unfortunately Keizer is largely built out. So to the extent that we do see new development, this fee does come into play. With that, if there's any additional questions, thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Are there any questions? Councilor Kohler.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Mr. Wood, I get asked by people all the time, is there anything we can do about that? And the answer basically is no.
That would be correct. There's not a whole heck of a lot we can do with this. And again, we see a handful of these a year, so it's not a big moneymaker for City of Salem either.
And just a follow-up clarification, so this is different what we're seeing on our Keizer Services bill, which is the utilization of this, the sewer services. This is for new development, correct?
That is correct, Madam Mayor.
And on both cases, we are in an intergovernmental agreement with Salem and our other regional partners on this.
That is correct. Okay. Unfortunately, the wastewater does represent the significant portion of your bi-monthly bill.
It does. Okay, insert joke here. We'll just, I will not go there. Because I had another, infill development. So each unit in an infill development would also pay this systems development charge as an individual unit, or are there different fee structures for that?
This is primarily for a single family residence. So yeah, there'd be additional other fees associated with that.
So if it's an infill that's taking a lot I've got one in my neighborhood, so I'm just curious. That's going from 1 house to 3.
I believe they would have 3 SDC charges for each of the locations as they put in a new sewer line for each one.
Okay. Oh, yeah, they tore everything up, which was a good thing from the below ground up. Okay. Thank you very much. Any other questions? Council President Starr.
Madam Mayor.
Oh, Mr. Johnson?
Yes, although a public hearing is not required, anytime we have a fee increase, we recommend asking to confirm there's nobody that wants to comment on the fee.
I appreciate the reminder. Thank you very much. Is there anyone here who would like to address the council on the matter of this fee increase for new development? All right, seeing none. Council President Starr.
I move the City Council adopt Resolution R2023 establishing the amount of the sewer system development charge for wastewater treatment facilities, repealing Resolution R2022-3311.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that the Keizer City Council adopt Resolution R 2023, establishing the amount of the sewer system development charge for wastewater treatment facilities, repealing Resolution R 2022-3311. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed signify by saying no. Hearing no objection, motion passes unanimously with 1 absent, Councilor Reed. And finally, we have item G, which is a League of Oregon Cities, LOC Foundation donation. And this one actually comes to me. Although Mr. Wood is listed. So do you want to lead off and I'll follow?
Sure. Thank you, Madam Mayor and City Council. The city's been approached by the League of Oregon Cities Foundation on their request for a donation. The requested amount is $500. These funds are pooled. The entire foundation is supported through donations by cities and other folks that want to support their cause. These funds are used to support city councilors to gather together, typically at the League of Oregon Cities conferences and the annual mayor's conference. So these funds are available for scholarship type of purposes. With that, I'll go ahead and turn it back over to you, Madam Mayor, and you can fill in the details.
All right, thank you very much. So for the record, I'm on the board of directors for the League of Oregon Cities Foundation. This foundation was founded for the purpose of supplying scholarship money for city councilors and mayors across the state to be able to attend the meetings of the League of Oregon Cities and to receive the training that really helps them, especially the new ones, but also on a continuing basis to help cities that cannot afford to send their representatives to the League of Oregon Cities to be able to participate. The city of Keizer has been a beneficiary of the foundation over time, and we are now at the point where we don't need the scholarship money, but we have an opportunity to invest in some of our smaller communities, which includes cities here in Marion County. So this, I think, is an important way of saying that we want to support our small cities and to allow for city councilors or mayors to be able to attend LOC. There's also other trainings available, and the foundation also does provide scholarships when they are applied for from the member cities. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
I do have a question on the staff report.
Okay, Council President Starr.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just a question on this staff report. It says that we only budget for 5 council members to attend the Fall League of Oregon Cities Conference. Do we only do 5 a year? So we're asking 2 of us to stay back?
Well, typically, just due to scheduling conflicts, it's been rare to have everyone go at the same time. Also included in this line item, really where this money would probably come from. In the past, we've supported people traveling across the country to different national kind of conferences. So that would be where, when we look at that 14,000 we currently have allocated, we'd probably look at reducing some of the national conferences.
So I just wanted to be clear. If all of us wanted to go to the Fall League of Oregon Conference, that budget would be able to send all of us, not the 5 that it says in the staff report.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. And also in that line item is allows me to attend the League of Oregon Cities, the Oregon Mayors Association Conference, which I will be attending again this year in Hood River. So I appreciate that our budget committee and our city council over time has prioritized getting us to the League of Oregon Cities conferences and to engage with our colleagues across the state. So with that, Council President Starr.
I move that the Keizer City Council designate $500 of the Keizer City Council expenditure line item in the Administrative Services Fund 2023-24 adopted budget as a donation to the League of Oregon Cities Foundation.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that the Keizer City Council designate $500 of the Keizer City Council expenditure line in the Administrative Services Fund 2023-24 adopted budget as a donation to the LOC Foundation. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed signify by saying no. Hearing no objection, motion passes unanimously with one absent, that's Councilor Reed, and thank you very much. All right, that takes us to tonight's consent calendar. Council President Starr, would you please read the items on today's consent calendar?
We have item A, resolution authorizing the finance director to enter into an agreement with CenturyLink Communications LLC, doing business as Lumen Technologies Group for fiber internet service. Item B, resolution authorizing the city manager to sign pipe cleaning and television inspection contract with Pacific Intertech. Item C, resolution authorizing the city manager to purchase 4 Dodge Durango patrol vehicles and 1 Dodge utility truck for the police department. Item D, approval of the July 3rd, 2023 regular session minutes. And item E, approval of the July 10th, 2023 work session minutes.
Thank you very much. Are there any polls?
One, Madam Mayor.
Councilor Assman?
9C, please.
Okay. Any others? Councilor Cross, did you want to pull one? Okay. Council President Starr.
I move that the city council pass the consent calendar items A, B, D, and E.
Second.
Consent calendar items A, B, D, and E, Alpha, Bravo, Delta, Epsilon, have been moved and seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed signify by saying no. Hearing no objection, motion passes unanimously. Councilor Hussman, item C.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm going to be a broken record on this, in part because I brought this up in a public meeting before. It was explained to me via city staff that in terms of how often we're cycling through our vehicles over the course of regular maintenance schedule and expected life, that this was a 5-vehicle year for the Keizer Police Department. So hence we have the 4 Dodge Durango patrol vehicles, 1 Dodge utility truck up this year. I completely get where the department is coming from, and I get where the city is coming from. I wanted to put it on the record, though, that as we still have a couple of major expenditures looming, the vehicles represent a pretty significant part of the city budgets, and this may be an opportunity where in the future the city is going to have to be a little more rigid and possibly have to let the life of those vehicles carry on, because we do have some good ones. And it's not just that the city has to have the absolute most updated equipment all the time. We certainly want things that hold to the standards of our officers, and our officers definitely deserve the highest standards and the best functioning. At the same time, though, if something is working well and we're constantly turning it over at the risk of spending a lot of money on the city that we could be spending elsewhere, at some point that might come to a head. And my personal concern, and concerns of others that I've talked to, is that there will come a point where the city has to make a hard choice on some expenditure. And I look, for example, at the crosswalk that we discussed earlier on Lock Haven near McNary High School. If there's a choice between a new police vehicle and that crosswalk, I'd happily take the crosswalk every time, because my hope is that crosswalk mitigates the need for a few police trips and possibly mitigates the damage or wear and tear incurred upon a vehicle. I understand that this is just a complete protest at this point, but I do worry that we've got to we've got to work smarter, not harder with respect to some elements of the budget as time goes forward. And I wanted to use this to call that out in particular. That's all I have. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Council President Starr, would you put the motion on the table, and then I do have a comment in deliberation.
I move that the Keizer City Council authorize the city manager to purchase 4 Dodge Durango patrol vehicles and 1 Dodge utility truck for the police department.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that the Keizer City Council adopt Resolution R 2023, authorizing the city manager to purchase 4 Dodge Durango patrol vehicles and 1 Dodge utility truck for police department. For discussion, I do want to point out for folks watching and for the record that a crosswalk is under our streets budget, which is a separate budget from the general fund and has an alternate funding source than a police car, which is strictly general fund dollars. So these are apples and oranges when it comes to budgeting. So I want to get that out there. And then on this being a 5-vehicle year with council's agreement, I'd like to turn it over to Chief Teague to talk about the need for these and also the maintenance costs that when they go too long.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. About 20, well, a little bit under 20 years ago, we were still leasing cars. We were returning cars with as few as 16,000 miles on them, if you can imagine. So we moved towards purchasing cars so that we can run them to the point where we're not turning them in with 16,000 miles on them. When I came back to Keizer 10 years ago, we were cycling cars out at about 3 years. Now we're cycling them out at about 5 years. They're approaching end of life for us, becoming more expensive. You've seen that as you've budgeted. You've seen the vehicle maintenance line item increase, now about $40,000. To reorder these, it's a 15-month wait for us to order them and get them on the road. So if we wait until they're broken and done, then we're running cars 24 hours a day as opposed to 12 hours a day, giving them a rest. So it is a judicious, thoughtful approach to buying vehicles. And by the way, we don't have 5 vehicle years. It just happens to be that this year we need to purchase 5 vehicles that are going out. Some years it's less than that.
Thank you very much. Any other comments for discussion? Councilor Husband?
May I rebut, Madam Mayor? All this to say, thank you for stating the apples and oranges comparison. You are absolutely correct with respect to the buckets of money. So my comparison was inapt for the purposes of discussion, though we do at least have a dollar figure pursuant to the city budget that people could draw from. It's about like $50K a car or so. And Chief Teague, I'm really glad we're not leasing vehicles anymore. I understand that the city probably got to that point, with some good intentions, but time has passed that by, and for good reason. To me, this type of expense is one of economy and of efficiency. I do get the occasional questions of, well, why did I see, 2 SUVs running in a parking lot with officers talking to each other? I get that things happen. My continual emphasis is that there are opportunities, I think, for the Keizer Police Department to be a little more efficient with its use of vehicles, and that might translate into savings down the road. Maybe even get a few different things in addition to the vehicles every year.
All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, signify by saying no.
No.
Motion passes 5-1. The no is Hussman and absent is Councilor Reed. That takes us to other business. This time is provided to allow the mayor, city council members, or staff an opportunity to bring new or old matters before the council that are not on tonight's agenda. Mr. Brown, does the staff have anything additional to bring to the attention of council this evening?
Madam Mayor, Council, the staff does not have any other additional business tonight.
Thank you. Council members, did you have additional business to bring tonight? I do have one item. We did get a request that will be coming to us, I think on August 7th. That's from Congresswoman Salinas' office for a fee waiver to hold a town hall here. So I want to mention that so that you all get it on your calendars, that we are working toward that goal. The Congresswoman requested to hold her town hall here. So that'll be August 24th, starting at 5:30, if it is approved by City Council on the 7th, and the room has already been reserved. So anticipating that this is very compatible with what we do on a regular basis for community involvement. All right, that will take us then to staff reports. And Mr. Brown?
I don't have anything to share with the council tonight. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Mr. Wood?
Nothing as well.
All right, thank you. Ms. Bissett?
Nothing, thank you.
Thank you. Chief Teague?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. National Night Out is Tuesday, August 1st. Blast Camp is August 14th through 16th. It's Monday through Wednesday. It'll be at Gubser this year. Registration for both National Night Out and Blast Camp are on the city's website. If you look at the PD's Facebook page, there's a link there to the website to make it easier for you. I'll tell you, Blast Camp is filling up fast, so if someone's interested, they need to get to it. I suggest doing that tonight.
Do not hesitate. This is, it fills up very quickly every year. And how many students do you take in Blast Camp?
I'm sorry, but I don't know the answer to that question. I know it's, if I say hundreds, you might think it's 700. It's not that many. We're talking 200 kids.
Okay, thank you very much. So if anybody's thinking about it, get on it quickly. And before we go on to Mr. Johnson, I do want to point out, I've been getting reports from people through our community that want to thank our police for responding to to phone calls regarding people blasting off fireworks, the illegal ones anytime, and anybody else, anything after 10 o'clock. People have reported that they notice when they make a phone call, things start to get quiet. So thank you. It's not perfect yet, but it sounds like progress to me. So I just want to express my appreciation to you and our police staff for the follow-up on that and helping make our neighborhoods a little more peaceful.
Yep, thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Johnson?
Nothing tonight, except I would report that I was one of the people that called on the 4th of July, and it got real quiet. It's the first time it's in the park right behind our house, and it was extremely loud, very late, and it got quiet real quick.
There we go. Proof positive right there. Fantastic. Thank you so much. I do want to point out, since Public Works is not here tonight, the next Trashy Tuesday event from our Environmental Services Division is next Tuesday on the 18th at PFC Ryan J. Hill Memorial Park from 5:30 to 6:30. Go on to our Facebook. It's tomorrow. Yeah, that is very tomorrow. It's tomorrow. So if you can get down there tomorrow, show up for Trashy Tuesday. It's a lot of fun. With that, we'll go to council reports, and I'll start with Councilor Cross.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Let's see, since our last council meeting last week on July 11th, I attended the YMCA Board Governance Committee meeting and then attended the Keizer Chamber Board Installation Luncheon at Log House, and that was fantastic. July 13th, I attended LBA Pan Dulce with Councilors Kohler and Reed, and we got to listen to the City Mayor of Salem, Mayor Hoy, and City Manager talk about the new payroll tax. And then after that, went to a fun event with the press release for the Salem Airport and found out that that's going to be Avelo Airlines, and they'll be starting out of Salem in October and going to Vegas and to Burbank. And then July...
Did you get your tickets?
I got, one way.
What?
First flight. And then July 14th, Boys and Girls Club golf shootout. And that was a nice, fun event. So there you go.
All right, thank you. It was a lot of fun to go to the press conference for the Velo Airlines. Welcome to Salem and to the Mid-Willamette Valley. Councilor Duran.
I had a few things last week. The Keizer installation, or Keizer Chamber Board installation luncheon was last week, and I went to that. Got to see some of the new members going in and one member going out. So it was definitely kind of interesting. My daughter is going to be the new president-elect, so That's neat to see her get involved.
Bravo.
I had a Keizer Fest meeting with the chamber on Wednesday, the 12th, and we're realizing things are coming up quick, and we're getting on the bandwagon, getting things done. It's going to be we're planning for a bigger event this year than we had last year. Just it seems like we've got quite a bit of interest, and we're hoping that people will show up. Thursday, I got to bring my tractor and my mower to help mow the field for Keizer Fest. So I spent half the day out there mowing the field with Dave Wallery and Bob Shackelford. So we've got, if you guys have been out to the Keizer Rapids Park, we've got it cut down and ready to go for the Keizer Fest. And that was my week last week.
And thank you. Thank you for volunteering for that, and congratulations to Claire for being president-elect of the Chamber Board. Council President Starr.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I had the library board meeting on Thursday, so great things are happening at the library and great children's programming. So watch their Facebook page for all of those event announcements. And then Friday, joined many people from our community at the concert in the park. So here's my plug for Rhythm and Business every Friday night in the summer 2024. No pressure, Keizer Chamber.
They were epic. It was fantastic concert. Councilor Kohler.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I got to go to a CBIL meeting, got to go to Keizer United. Of course, the work
CBIL
session.
is?
I don't know what the acronym is.
Community Business Education Leaders Compact.
Education business leaders. Anyway, you've got all these guys that get together. We do all kinds of neat things. One of the things that's happened is a lot of things over at Kennedy Elementary. And it's pretty exciting to see a lot of people all get together for good causes. I actually got to watch the Salem City Council payroll tax fiasco.
Yep, all night long.
That was epic. Got done at 11:30. And I thought, okay. Chamber greeters, chamber board installation. That was a good time. The Parks Board. I thought we'd get a report from Parks Board tonight, but apparently not. The water fountain is running and everything is working good there. A lot of people are excited about that. Talked about tagging, and so if you see some tagging, graffiti somewhere, please come to the city website and report that, and we'll work on getting that cleaned up. Keizer Heritage Foundation, thank you. Dinner was pretty exciting and neat to see a lot of people doing great things. The Latino Business Alliance meeting was pretty fun. On the 13th, I attended Tracy and Debbie's retirement luncheon. It was neat to see so many people be a little part of giving them a little thank you, so that was good. And on the 14th, I attended a private tour of the progress on the new and improved Aware Food Bank in Woodburn. I'm impressed with the design. When it's all finished, patrons will be able to come in, pick up the items they need off the shelf, go to the cabinet, open up the refrigerator door, pick their items that they need. Same thing with the freezer. It's tremendous. It's a new standard for food banks, and pretty excited to be a little tiny part of that. Looking forward to the county commissioners this Thursday, and July 26th, be there, the Keizer Community Dinner at St. Edward Catholic Church. I'll be cooking hamburgers.
All right. Thank you very much. Councilor Husband.
Okay.
That doesn't sound like a vacation, Councilor Kohler.
The burgers sound amazing, though.
Yeah.
On Tuesday, the 11th, I had a meeting with Salem City Councilor Virginia Stapleton, Salem Public Works Director Brian Martin, and a couple gentlemen from ODOT regarding the state of the MLK Junior Parkway path around Keizer and Salem. Madam Mayor, I'm sorry. You actually missed a pretty good discussion. A couple things turned out from that. No, ODOT's not going to give us the full treatment on the Parkway path like we'd hoped for. I definitely came in with the bargaining position of new paving all across, new signage all throughout, new lights up and down. I got them to at least commit to sending someone out to look over the shape of the path between Verda and Keizer Station. So not necessarily a lot, but they're going to see some cracks and potholes, and hopefully that'll spur on some action. Plus, I promised to push, and a lot of community members have been pushing me on the Parkway, so thank you for that, Parkway path. It was honestly very helpful having Councilor Stapleton and Mr. Martin from Salem Public Works there, because they entered into a tentative agreement with the ODOT gentleman regarding using a bike sweeper to cover some of the pavement around that area of the Parkway.
Cool.
So that is lovely. I think they'll work out the details, and that'll probably come out a few months from now, but that is unquestionably a win to get a little gravel and fewer leaves away from the pathway, at least in the Salem area. But since they have an IGA intergovernmental agreement, they may be able to expand that capacity. So your city council will follow up with that. Otherwise, traffic safety bike ped Thursday, 6 p.m. in these chambers. Rick will be there. I'll be there. Thanks so much. Thank you all for showing up for this, seriously. Enjoy your dinner later this evening. That's all I got, Madam Mayor.
All right, thank you very much. Just a couple of things to add. Let's see. So you already heard about the Salem Air Service. That's a great addition for the Mid-Willamette Valley. Right after that, though, a lot of us who were there went across the runway over to Church at the Park, where they had the ribbon cutting for the brand new Turner Road Young Adult Village Community. So this was, I don't know if they can zoom in on that, it's probably too small. This was a wonderful partnership of so many that have come together to create this young adult village that will house up to 38 between the ages of 18 and 24. The services and the on-site design is for the young adults. Their needs are specific to that age group, and so it's been designed with them in mind. This is partnered, the Oregon Jaycees Foundation, the City of Salem, the Mid-Willamette Valley Homeless Alliance, the Spirit Mountain Community Fund, and the Willamette Health Council, along with other partners that have come together to build this facility and for ongoing operations. This is another piece of what we've been doing in our two-county region to provide for appropriate, safe, secure, and sustained facilities where people can leave homelessness, receive the services they need, and beyond their journey toward a far more secure and successful future. So congratulations to Church at the Park and to all of the partners who helped make this happen. Very proud to be a small part of that. Also on the 13th, so we went from there to the meeting of the Mid-Willamette Valley Homeless Alliance. The annual Notice of Funding Opportunity, affectionately known as the NOFO, has dropped, and this is the annual funding from Housing and Urban Development, HUD. And all service providers are urged to check the website for the Mid-Willamette Valley Homeless Alliance. Get on there soonest. We have a little longer than last year, which if anybody has worked with HUD, they're not really generous with their timelines usually. This one we have, I think, a little bit more time for the service providers to get their applications in, do that soonest. Also, additional office hours will be provided for all service providers for assistance in drafting their proposals to be turned in, and then they will be evaluated and a recommendation made for funding to forward to HUD. We've done really well since we became our own continuum of care, pulling back out from the remainder of state. Marion Polk has begun to reestablish the level of funding that we should have been receiving when we were, but had not. So we're getting there. It's over $1 million a year and increasing. And then we've been able to secure other grants such as the one for the Turner Road facility, which was from the Youth Homeless Development Program grant, also from HUD. So stay tuned for that. On Saturday the 15th, it was my pleasure to host the July edition of Coffee with Kathy. This is broadcast on Facebook Live, on Channel 23, and on KeizerTV.com. It's now a team effort with the Chamber of Commerce. Claire Duran represented the Chamber, RJ Navarro representing Chariots, Chrissy Hudson representing the Salem Keizer School Board, Diane Watson from the Chemeketa Community College Board of Education, Pastor Dominguez from La Luz de Valle Church, and Betty Hart from the Keizer Fire District. It's been important to me in doing these programs that we hear from all of the jurisdictions that are serving the people of Keizer. So over time, we've been building this program so that it can be very informative for all of you who are watching. So if you want to find out what's happening in all of the governments that impact your life here in Keizer, I've been doing my best to assemble this group and report out to you each month. If there's a topic you'd like to hear about, if there is a person you would like to see as a special guest, please reach out to me and let me know so I can schedule to get that person on as a guest for the August edition. Coming up, we are going to have Wednesday night, I've got the Mayor's Coalition for Marion, Polk, and Yamhill counties, and that will be hosted by Woodburn. We have the Commissioners' Breakfast with the City of Salem and Marion County Commissioners on Thursday, the 20th. On the 25th, we'll have the Salem Keizer Area Transportation Study at the same time as the Mid-Willamette Valley Homeless Alliance Executive Board. So I'll be looking either to Councilor Starr or Councilor Reed to fill in for me at one of those. And finally, let's all remember that we've got a couple of really cool things coming up. On the 29th, we are going to have our food pod that's on River Road at the Copper Creek Mercantile is going to host a Keizer Summer Night Out. So they've got 4 food trucks there. They're going to have music and all sorts of fun things for the community to enjoy. So July 29th, and come down and enjoy a good meal and a good time with neighbors at Copper Creek Mercantile at the food pod. And then 2 nights later, of course, we have, or 3, National Night Out on August 1st. Get your registration in yesterday for that. Also want to bring up, so later in August, you heard about the exchange program that we're looking forward to with EO Japan. On August 26th, JFK will be performing at the Keizer Rotary Amphitheater, and then that will be the same weekend that they open the Oregon State Fair. So lots of cool things coming up. That is all I've got. Agenda input, we will meet on August 7th at 7 p.m. in regular session. August 14th, what did we decide for the work session, which will start at 6 p.m.?
We decided
I'm trying to remember.
Neighborhood associations.
That was it, okay.
And
it was a 2-parter.
Yeah.
So one is neighborhood associations, kind of what are they? Meeting with all of the chairs of our, and of course, everybody's welcome. But we specifically will be reaching out to the chair of every neighborhood association to learn a little bit more about what you are, what you can be, what support do you need from the city, and also, what's working, and then what can we do better collectively.
Yes.
And the other part is?
Emergency management.
The emergency management plan update. So stay tuned, it's gonna be a double header. We will not go 4 hours, I promise. 3.5 tops. Just kidding. So that'll be on August 14th at 6 p.m. and then we will meet again on August 21st at 7 p.m. in regular session. Is there anything else for the good of the order? All right, hearing none. The time is 8:46. We are adjourned.